Good morning, everyone. Today we're in Hebrews chapter 5. Thank you for joining us for these daily devos each weekday morning. We are going to enter into chapter 5 talking about Jesus Christ as our high priest, as it was affirmed in the end of chapter 4, that he's the one who identifies with our weaknesses, and yet he had no sin. And I think if you're like me, you are very aware of your weaknesses. You're very aware of what you're going through. And to have someone who went through all of this and did not sin, the person of Christ, on our behalf, interceding as the great high priest, offers so much hope. Because to lean into that and to surrender to what that means, it says what we're going through makes a difference. It makes a positive difference. It's an opportunity. James chapter 1, which we'll get to in a couple of weeks, says that when we encounter troubles, it's an opportunity for great joy. And we have a high priest who has encountered these troubles and who can encourage us and can intercede to give us the mercy and the grace that we need for the times that we need it. In verse 7 of chapter 5, it starts with Jesus talking about while he was still on earth, and he offered up these prayers and these pleadings with loud cry and tears to the one who could rescue him from death. And it says God heard him because of his reverence. And it says even though Jesus was God's son, he learned obedience from the things he suffered. Learning obedience from the things that we suffer is what gives meaning to everything that we go through. It's that opportunity for great joy to be obedient to God. Because obedience without Christ is almost impossible. We cannot do it on our own. So when we go through troubles and sufferings and trials and temptations, that's an opportunity to learn obedience. He doesn't expect us to already have it. He gives us his mercy. He says, I know you're not there, and I know you can't do it without my power. But he gives that to us because of what Christ did on the cross, giving us the Holy Spirit to guide us. And it says this is what qualified him. This obedience, this learned obedience from the things he suffered, qualified him to be a perfect high priest. And he became the source of eternal salvation for those who obey him. So Christ is the one that said, if you love me, you'll obey me. Christ is also the one that said, hey, in this world, you're going to have trouble. In John chapter 16, he goes, affirms himself as the Son of God and says, I tell you this so that you will have peace. Because in this world, you're going to have trouble. But don't worry, because I've overcome the world. So in him, we have peace, and we have power to learn through our sufferings, from our sufferings. He wasn't rescued from death, like he says, the one he appealed to the one who could rescue him from death. But he wasn't rescued from death. He was rescued through death to resurrected life. And that's the opportunity that we have to learn obedience, to continue going to the Father, to trust, to choose to trust him, and to learn that his outcome is far better than one we could come up with, and that the source of eternal salvation has given us the power to learn this obedience. And as we learn this, we become more and more mature. The end of this chapter, it talks about, it's funny because it says, there's so much more we would like to say about this. It's difficult to explain, especially since you're spiritually dull and you don't seem to listen. So C.S. Lewis, in The Problem of Pain, he says that God whispers to us in our pleasure. He speaks to our conscience, but he shouts in our pain. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. And here it says, it's hard to explain because you're spiritually dull and you don't listen. This is a challenge for us to engage, to listen. What does this look like? Be in the Word. These daily devos are a great start. We have wonderful Sunday morning services. We have life groups. We have Bible studies throughout the week at Willowbrook that are fantastic. There's so many ways to engage. And it says down here at the bottom that solid food is for those who are mature, who through training have the skill to recognize the difference between right and wrong. This training comes from engaging. It comes from engaging in the Word. It comes from engaging in prayer, but it comes from engaging with other believers. And that means that whatever we're going through, we have to experience it with the promise, with the hope, with the trust that the mercy and grace available to us through Christ, our high priest who's interceding on our behalf, that is ours for the taking. So Willowbrook, whatever you're going through, please know that we are here to pray for you, but also that Jesus is interceding for you and he understands what you're going through. And there is an opportunity here for you to learn to obey and be pleasing to God. So instead of looking at your sufferings as a way to accuse God, don't go to God in accusation, go to God in anticipation of the life that's on the other side of what you're going through because of the hands that are turning it into something redeemed and wonderful. Willowbrook, I pray you have a great day. Thank you for joining us.